Hey guys, Tina here and welcome to another video. Today I'm filming the A book tag, which was created by Jessie from Jessie's Shelf, and I was also tagged by her. Now this is a Canadian tag. Yeah, it's connected to Canada. She, created it in honor of Canada Day, and I don't want to film it soon because Canada Day just passed and I do not want to take my time with it. I sort of want it still pretty close to that day. So yeah, that's why I'm filming it today, and it's a really fun tag, so let's get to it. But before we do, it's really hot outside, so I have my windows open because I just have to survive somehow. So if you hear any background noises, excuse me. And also, my neighbors are being really nice, and they're working, renovating their whatever, and there might be noise from that as well. So what did I say? I hate my neighbors sometimes so much. But question number one is, what is your connection to Canada? Personally, I have very little connection to Canada, actually. I've never been there. I do hope to get there sometime, but I have no plans. One of my relatives actually moved there a few years back, but since I have no connection to that relative, still doesn't mean that I have a connection to Canada. The most connection that I have is actually through BookTube, because I do know a lot of booktubers that are Canadian, and they provide the connection, and Jessie is definitely one of them. So yeah, that's my connection. Question number two is talk about a book with red on the cover, and for this I decided to go with A Rise of Empire, which is book 2 in his Michael J. Sullivan's Era Revelations. These books talk about Royce and Hadrian. They're a thief and a murderer, and basically they're assassins to hire or whatever, and they're hired in the first book to get this sword, and of course they get into trouble and are accused of killing the king, and they have to save their asses basically. And throughout these books we follow them as their adventures progress, and I really enjoy these stories. They're a lot of fun, they're easy to get into, and the writing style is really easy to get into as well. It's especially if you're new to fantasy, I think these are a great start if you are when somebody that wants to get into fantasy. Question number 3 is to talk about a book with white on the cover, and for this I chose The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. So this is another fantasy book that's huge, and I just recently read it, and it's the story about Damien. He lives in this school for the gifted, and in this world that really frowns upon the gifted, because a few years back these so-called augurs who are sort of gifted, but they can also tell the future, read minds and things like that, and they cause a lot of problems and people rebel against them, and now the gifted are sort of looked down upon. And yeah, Damien is supposed to go through these trials, and if he proves that he can control his magic, he will become a gifted. If he doesn't, he will be basically stripped of his power and turned into a shadow, and he doesn't want that to happen. And when he gets an opportunity to sort of miss the trials and go on this adventure, he does that, and we follow his story as well as some other characters, and it's a debut novel, and it's a really good one, and I do recommend it. And book 2 is just coming out, I think, in August, and I'm really looking forward to that. Question number 4 is maple syrup. Talk about a sugary sweet OTP. Now I'm slightly jumping the gun here because I'm not sure if this is going to be an OTP, but I definitely ship them, and it's actually Ty and Kit from Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare, which is book 2 in her Dark Artifices series. It's the newest series in her Shadow Hunters world, and I just love these two. They're so perfect. Right now they're friends. I mean, there are hints that there might be something else in the future, but right now they're still just friends, and they really get along very well together. Ty is autistic, and he's this Sherlock Holmes type of character, and Kit is his Watson, and they just, the way Kit sees Ty is so fantastic. He notices everything, and Ty also listens to Kit a lot, and I just really love these two, as you probably know for some of my other videos, because I'm obsessed with these two and I just love them to bits. Question number 6 is Canada's diversity. Talk about your favorite diverse book. I think it will come as no surprise to anyone who has been with me for a while that I picked Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertelli. Again, the heat wave. Oh, I can't speak. yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite reads. It's a light contemporary romance, I would say. Yes, it deals with a serious topic, but it does it in such a fun and enjoyable way that you know that it's serious, but you still really enjoy it and you're able to laugh alongside it and all that. I love Simon, I love Blue, I love the emails between them. Oh yes, in case you don't know what it's about. So Simon, he's in high school and he has been emailing with this boy and he sort of has a crush on him, but he doesn't know, you know, neither of them knows who the other is because they're anonymous. And then this other classmate sort of stumbles upon these emails and blackmails Simon into getting him a date, or he will reveal these emails, and Simon doesn't want that. I mean, he himself is not that worried about coming out, but Blue is, so he wants to protect Blue. And yeah, it's a fun book, really. I do enjoy it, and actually, now that I'm talking about it, I really want to reread it, you know, because that's what's happening to me this year. I just want to read all the books. It's annoying. I have so many new ones to get to. Question number 5 is pretend. Talk about a guilty pleasure book or genre. Now I have to say that it's probably romance books or new adults. I don't know, one of those. I do enjoy them. I don't think much about them because, especially romance novels, I've read so many of them in the past and they have this structure and you know what to expect, and sometimes that is really good because you're just in that kind of mood. You don't want to think about what you're reading, you just want to go through it and enjoy it. And yeah, but you know, and I do use them especially when I'm in a sort of a slump, because they usually get me out of that. So yeah, they're useful, but I do not expect too much from them. But there was a time when I loved them so much and that was all I read. So yeah, I think that's why I'm slightly cynical about them now, but still, they are enjoyable and useful. Question number 7 is Lacrosse, an epic battle in a book. Now, I've read a lot of books with battles in them, but the one that comes to mind right now is just one that I have read about recently, and it's from Arabella of Mars by David Z. Levine. So this is, it's classified as a young adult fantasy in an alternate universe with elements of steampunk that takes place during the Regency era. So in the early 1800s, there's war between England and Napoleon, and our space system, our solar system has been conquered. There are colonies on Mars and Venus, and there's space travel with ships, you know, sea ships with masts and all that. And it's really interesting. I really enjoyed it, and there's this great space battle that takes place, and I really enjoyed it. It was definitely interesting. I mean, some of the language of the navigation and the ships and all that just flies over my head, but I did enjoy it nonetheless, and it's fun. It's a fun read, really. Question number 8 is 10 Provinces. Talk about the 10th book that you read this year, and that one is actually Firefight by Brandon Sanderson, which is book 2 in his Reckoners trilogy that I read at the beginning of this year. This is a sort of sci-fi trilogy, and it takes place in a world where this event happened, and because of it some people got superpowers, but instead of turning good, they turned evil and they wreak havoc in this world. And there's this group of people called the Reckoners that are trying to fight them. And David, he has lost his father to one of these epics, as they're called, and he wants to fight this epic, and he knows how to get to him, and he is adamant to join this group, and that happens in book 1, and this is book 2, which is a continuation. It takes place in New York, which is submerged underwater, and it has these bridges and people cross them, and it's just a lot of fun. So I did really enjoy this trilogy, and I have a review of it, and I will link it up above in the card symbol so you can go check it out. Question number 9 is 3 territories. Talk about your top 3 books of all time. Now, I have to say that I don't have favorite books, especially not of all time. My taste and all that changes all the time, so as you know, along with that, my top 3 books would change. And yes, you know, I could tell you that my favorite book used to be A Catcher in the Rye, and I used to really connect to it, but honestly, if I read it today, I would probably not connect to it as well as I did in high school. So, you know, I'm just gonna list my top 3 books that I really love right now. And the first one, I'm pretty sure you know because it's been in all of my videos basically lately, and it's A Blood Song by Anthony Ryan. This is a great start to an epic fantasy trilogy. It tells the story of Balaam. His father used to be this great battle lord, and for reasons his father takes him to this monastery type of place where he is raised among monks basically and taught how to fight and protect the realm and the faith. And as he grows up, he learns that his world is far from black or white, that there's a lot more going on in the background, and he gets sucked in all of that. And I just adore this book. I have a review of it. Again, I will link it up above so you can go check it out. But this is definitely my favorite book of this year so far, so it has to be on this list. Then, of course, there has to be another Brandon Sanderson on this list, and it's actually Words of Radiance, which is book 2 in his Stormlight archive. Now, I started reading Brandon Sanderson, I think it was 2015, and I read all of his books. I naturally started off with the Mistborn trilogy, which I adored, and I read all of his, you know, Warbreaker, Launchfist and everything, and then I got to the Stormlight archive. And as much as I love all of his other books, these are my favorites so far, and Words of Radiance, I just adore this series, and I'm gonna be rereading it because the third book comes out soon, well, in November. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna reread them, and I just love them. What is this about? It takes place in this world called Roshar, and we have different characters there. We have Kaladin, who's a slave. He's basically a part of this group of people that run with bridges, because there's this battle that has been going on, war that has been going on these planes, and if you want to, you know, get from one plane to the next, you have to use the bridges, and they have slaves that do that. So they run ahead of the army and place the bridges so the army can cross and all that, and he's one of the main characters. And then there's the king and his uncle and his son, the uncle's son, and it's just a huge cast, and I love them all. I just adore this world and these characters so much, and the writing is phenomenal. Again, what I like most about Brandon Sanderson is always his aspects of religion and philosophy. I just love those, and he is one of my favorite authors, as you know. And then the third book I think right now is actually Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda again. I just talked about it, so I'm not gonna discuss it here any further, but this is just a book that makes me really happy. Whenever I think about it, it just makes me smile. So yeah, it has to be on this list again. Question number 10 is Beaver. Tell us about an annoying but important character. And I just read this book, and this character is so vividly in my mind that I have to go with her. And it's Lila Bard from the Shades of Magic trilogy by V. Schwab. I just don't like her at all. I know that she's a really popular character, but she just annoys me to no end. She's obnoxious, annoying, insulting, impulsive, you know, irrational sometimes, just everything I do not like. And I know that she's popular, and I just can't make myself like her, but she does play an important part in these books, so yeah, she's important, you know, as a character, so she has to be there. I don't know what I don't like her, aside from what I just said. It is true that I do very rarely connect to female characters in books, you know. I just prefer guys always, so yeah, it might be another reason, but I really do not like her. Question number 11 is Colourful Money, the most colorful book you own. Now, I have nothing as colorful as Jessie showed us in her video, but I do have two covers here that are really bright. Not colorful, but they're really bright, and I really like these colors together. So the first one is Kim by Rudyard Kipling, and the second one is Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, and I just love these covers. They're so bright and beautiful. But yeah, I'll just go with these. And question number 12 is Say A, and I say A to all my Canadian friends and viewers. I hope you enjoyed this fun tag. I definitely had fun filming it. I will tag some people down below, so make sure that you check that out. And hopefully, if you were tagged, I, you know, maybe do this tag or not. It's up to you, of course, but it is a fun tag. And thank you, Jessie, for tagging me again. And to all my viewers, I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you in my next one. Bye!